Shortly after leaving college, I went to the States for kind of 6 weeks, and I travelled around the States. One of the people I stayed with was a man called Peter Lloyd, who was an illustrator who had a collection of what was called refrigerator ceramics. These were kind of industrially made promotional kind of ceramics, which were kind of usually when you bought a fridge in the States in the kind of 30s and 40s, you got kind of this free jug or kind of containers. Collectively, this is called refrigerator ware. One of the things that struck me was the freedom of color. As somebody kind of come from a kind of, obviously from a ceramic education and a ceramic background, the use of kind of colors which were bright, pastel, kind of, was very, very kind of influential. Other influence would be kind of Victorian art ceramics. And I was interested in the way that kind of Victorian art ceramics would separate out the kind of the foot, the body, the kind of the lid as separate objects. And this was kind of the antithesis of modernism, of kind of Lucy Ree with the kind of the single shape kind of form. And it suited the way I worked as well. I would kind of work in a constructivist way. When I say it's made in a constructivist way, it's literally made in a constructivist way, because it's kind of made in separate bits. So obviously the lid is kind of separate, but the kind of the knob, the kind of the top. This top here, this top. At one point in the making, they all exist as separate elements, and they're brought together and then glued in a raw state. But there's a more prosaic kind of reason. This was made, as I say, in Brighton, and the first house I had in Brighton. The house was near a railway embankment, and all the dustbin lids were kind of all the neighbours' dustbin lids and my dustbin lid disappeared because the kids played frisbee with them over the railway embankment. So kind of instead of a dustbin lid, I just had a sheet of hardboard that lay over the dustbin. So this is why this came about. Ceramics still in the early 80s was dominated by functionalism. This isn't a great functional item. You would keep your trinkets in it. It's not kind of something you would cook in, something that you would kind of drink out of, obviously. I remember kind of describing this work as decorative once in a magazine called Ceramic Review. And actually thinking kind of, God, you're courageous just saying decorative. Because decorative was something that was kind of, then studio ceramics was felt to be something other than decorative. It just couldn't be simply decorative. It's an earthenware kind of white clay, biscuit fired high and then glazed at a relatively low temperature. So the glazed temperature is what's called an earthenware temperature. And that allows you to get kind of the colours, these kind of bright colours, which would be possible at a higher temperature. The colour is mainly glazed. The orange edge here is what's called a slip, so it's an orange clay. This has got a blue glaze over it, and the edge has got just a clear glaze over it. And kind of the bottom, this part is kind of this kind of burgundy, kind of red glaze. It's all sprayed, so you get a gradation. It's kind of made very simply. It's kind of, although the spiral looks as if it's kind of thrown, it isn't. It's what's called kind of coiled. That's a kind of technique that one uses. The spiral in kind of in handmade pottery is a bit of a cliche, kind of, which is kind of quite enjoyed. So this is kind of a joke spiral.